Words right here, guys. Telepathy, breathe that in, transparency, and authenticity. Now, what do all three of these have in common? That's exactly what we're going to find out today because there is a common point to all three of these. There is an expansion that is currently happening among all of us. And as you breathe in, as you are here in this moment, no matter what called you to be, I welcome you, I honor you. I am, as you are, Master Lady Kira Raa, and welcome to Expanding Consciousness. You know, as you bring a hand to your heart, I'm just going to do the same with you. This is that deep dive moment. And if this is your first time to Expanding Consciousness, welcome. Welcome to what I'm referring to as the encyclopedia, that whenever and wherever and in whatever state you would ever connect with that which is right now, I honor you for finding it, for seeing it and receiving whatever it is that we are here to be in the manner that is yours to know. So really breathe that in and welcome to the languaging of consciousness itself. You know, frequently people say to me, Kira, what are you saying? And how are you saying it? And why do you talk that way? Well, it is because of today's subject. It is because of telepathy. It is because of transparency. And at the end of it all, it is because of authenticity. Yet, I want to invite you to step beyond that, which is the common, into the depth of the rarefied, to relax the breath, really just exhale, and to feel that breath as you do, to really notice that exhale moment. And to just, as you relax the breath, as you exhale the breath, as you just allow that to be, to notice the smile. To notice that inner smile that comes forward when we are truly in the essence of our divine higher nature. Whatever wording, whatever palabras, right? Whatever languaging is yours, the essence is one. And that's the blessing of this realm of potentiality. In this field of extraordinary co-creation, in this experience of a potentiality, we get to carry this beautiful body, right? To remember that I am not this body. This body is merely that which is an experience of my consciousness. And that's what this third dimension is about. It's about the experience of this, the touching, the feeling, the emotionality of it. Those are all of this field of potentiality. It's the way that our consciousness expresses. It's the way that our telepathy actually begins. So let's begin at the beginning, right? Let's take a step back and let's just breathe into what this is all about. What are we gazing at? What is telepathy? What is transparency? What is authenticity? In a field where all is perceived through the filters of our belief systems, of our paradigms, of the density consciousness that we are born into, all of that factors into the way that we move forward, the way that we expand as a collective, much less as an individual. So what is transparency? Well, transparency has many, many different aspects to it, does it not? There are so many ways that we begin to gaze at transparency. Who is the one that is even noticing? And this is where the gift of actually stepping into the awareness of your greater self, of your expanded eternal presence becomes a blessing. Transparency begins when we can look at ourselves. Transparency begins when we can place a hand on our hearts, really gaze into a mirror, relax our breath, smile, and see beyond that which seeks to stop us. To be able to gaze within, to ask the question, what in me invited this to be? To really go deep within, to gaze within and look transparently beyond any fields of judgment. You know, I like to describe it as, come join me here at TOA Blue Mountain. Let's go up to 7,500 feet, which is where our base camp is, right? Let's go up to 10,000. Let's go beyond. Let's go sit there. Because from there, the textures of all of the mosaic reveal themselves. From there, that beautiful, beautiful distant art is just that magnificent art. Because you're not right there looking at the pieces that you might not enjoy, but were absolutely needed. Without them, the whole could not be complete. Transparency is that moment. It is that moment where you can gaze at yourself, where you can just be with yourself and smile with a forgiveness that comes from the essence of the response abilities that your conscious awareness are able to embrace. Now consider that. I believe it was Krishnamurti who said it best, that until we are awake, we are not responsible. And that's a really powerful statement to pay attention to. It really, really caught my attention the first time I ever spent time with that. And what it did lead to me was this extraordinary revelation, a transparency from the inside out. That recognition, I remember the moment where I was really able to gaze at myself, and I ran to one of my best friends and said, "Oh my gosh, how did you put up with me?" And I remember he was looking at me. This was a dear friend of mine. He was looking at me going like, "What are you talking about?" Because my level of consciousness, my experience of consciousness, because remember, it's not a hierarchy, but my experience of consciousness in that moment was so beautifully aware of the state of density where I was unable to see. And in that moment of the awareness, there was this transparent availability to not hide from the self, to not pretend it does not exist, to be in a world where it's all open. There it is, to be, as I like to say, nakedly authentic, to just really give yourself the blessing of knowing through the smile of eternity, through that ignition of that pillar of eternal presence, to know I am as you are. I am as you are. Really breathe that in. Just really breathe that in. And as you do, notice if you feel anything within your body. Notice if there's anywhere in your body that you feel this energy, that you feel this essence blowing through you. There's a tightness or a movement. Just notice. And as the mind may seek to engage, remember the mind is going to sit right there. The mind is going to sit right there, and it's going to say to itself, I can do it all. I can do it all. That's what the mind does. And that's why the mind sits in that 6 o'clock position, right? Especially in this planet. And so as you do that, as the mind sits there in that 6 o'clock position, what happens is that everything starts spinning around the mind, because the mind becomes a fixed entity. And in its fixed entity moment, it seeks not to be transparent. In that moment, the mind is self-preserving, and it will do everything it can, and it will work through the physical body most frequently. And so in that moment, there is that transparency that is just sitting there waiting and smiling and saying, when you are ready to be seen, I am ready to see you. That's what transparency is. It's that essence moment of seeing the self. How can we ever be transparent with others if we are unable to be transparent with ourselves? If we hold that, if we hold everything as ice, then are we resisting the fire? And when the fire arrives, is ice ready to transform and be glacial, to rise into that moment? I remember when I was in Glacier Bay in Alaska, I remember one of the most beautiful things I ever saw in the world were these gorgeous blue glaciers. I mean, they were stunning, just so beautiful. And, watching, and this was, oh my goodness gracious, this was back in 1998. And even then there were, the concerns. It was obvious that they were calving very rapidly, but there was a transparency. There was a radiation that it came out of those glaciers with that stunning blue color that called forward a relaxation of that which would seek to resist. And that's the essence of the ice transforming into the glacier. It's the relaxation of that which would seek to resist so that the true nature may rise. That king queen, that divine equanimity. In the transparency, divine equanimity appears and arises. And I want you to really breathe that in. Just breathe that in and then relax it out. Is really inviting that to be. And as you do, it brings me to it. I'm going to skip over telepathy because I want to save that to the end. But what it brings me to is it brings me to authenticity. So in the transparency, in the willingness to be able to really go up to 10,000 feet, to really be there, to be able to gaze at the full view and to stay there with a smile and to see it all, to witness it as the mosaic that it is. I notice that eternal ignition of ever greater illumination. And as that happens, as that begins, there is a relaxation into self. There is an essence of joy that has nothing to do with the emotional body. There is a recognition from the physical body that the mind is being invited to take a vacation and to actually perhaps find a new role in the way of being. Because there is an essence of trust. It is a flame that melts ice. It is a power that transforms. It is a knowing that cannot be unknown. Breathe, even as I'm sharing this with you. What is your heart calling to you right now? What are you noticing? What are you breathing? What are you feeling? This is that moment. This is that moment where everything that you are as I am is calling out to you and saying, hello, I am here. I am ready. I am open. Guide me. That guidance is the essence of all that you are as I am, fully integrating into this body of form, thereby aware of the emergent process that is not going to look like what anything has looked like before. To fully birth the new world is to peel off the layers of the paradigms, to realize that in our judgments, we're holding the dogma itself, to be free, to peel off every single layer, to be authentic, to be at that moment where all you can be is that which you are. Beyond the greed, beyond the jealousy, beyond the competition, lies the heart of authenticity. And authenticity is the other piece of transparency. Because arriving into the depth of authenticity, and I want you to relax your breath. Just go up, inhale. Exhale. Ave Sa, going up Ave. Exhaling. Let's do that one more time. Going up Ave. Exhaling. Relaxing. And as you are there, as you're in that moment, as you feel your heart relax, the authenticity of that which you are is inviting you to blossom, is inviting you to stand up and say yes, is inviting you to call forward that eternal smile of all that you have ever been, beyond the limitation of the mind of this body of form. Because the stronger that mind, the more conditioned that mind, the more routinized that mind, that is the seat of the limitation of the mind. Beyond the fields of that which is perceived is, lies all that has ever been. And what's between that is the individual will, your, mine, all, capacity, willingness to literally jump from one side to the other, because there is no bridge. That bridge is only built through the gift of trust and love. And when that jump, when that leap is made, that chalice is full, and the hands come together, and the oneness is known, and the blessing is received. Authenticity is the field that is beyond the jealousy, the greed, the competition. It is the space where we meet in that cross of perfect balance, where the physical and the mental and the spiritual and the emotional are no longer fused. It is where they are held as the prayer wheel itself, constantly spinning, because consciousness itself is the inhabitor of the space of this body. Now, I want you to breathe that in, and then I want to invite you to smile at yourself. Transparency, authenticity, to really smile at yourself, to have a dance with that which is going on within your own mind, within your own capacities, with what you're witnessing that's happening in your life experience right now. Really notice the smile of the evolutionary process of you. Let go of anything that would seem or feel or be experienced as self-judgment, because that is the ultimate limitation. Fear, hesitancy, doubt are woven in the fabric of self-judgment. It is a moment when we can breathe into our heart deep enough and understand that every being, every aspect of this modeled experience that we have co-created in this specific potentiality is actually playing out perfectly, so that you can achieve and be all that you are here to be, achieve, do. Whatever form that may take to the body of form, whatever the mind may say, whatever an outer sense may heap as a judgment of that. This is bad, this is good, this is terrible, this is not. That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. It's the awareness of the experience and the seeing of the totality and the recognition that all of it brings you to the who you are now, to the where you are now. It's in that moment, that very moment, that you begin to enter into telepathic communication. It is that moment where love, it is a love that transcends the body. It is a love that transcends the mind. It is a love that transcends emotion. It transcends what is the perception of spirituality. This is essence, core essence love. It is the only way I can even describe it. And even as I do, those of you that feel energy, notice your fingers, right? Like, you feel that? Like my fingers feel as if they're floating on their own right now. They really do. It's like, let's just illuminate and levitate together, right? But in that core essence love, we literally light up in this body of form. We light up channels along the spine. We light those up. All of those areas illuminate, all of them light. And as they light and as they illuminate, it offers a divine connection that can only be sustained through the field of absolute transparency, authenticity, radiating love from its corest field. Because in that core field, love, cannot exist jealousy, greed, competition. And in that core field love, that emanation, that unified field of the emanation of core essence energy, which you are capable of carrying, becomes the antenna of telepathic communication. It's as if you're rising an antenna right up into the rarefied fields where everything exists. Nothing is ever lost. It is simply our capacity to navigate the eternal realms of all that I am as you are. We're all moving the wheels of eternal time. Of that, be certain. And so, in that movement, in that knowing, in that constellation, within all of that, stands your ability to connect. In that still point, in that one space, telepathy is merely what you are. It is a remembrance. It is a moment of knowing that the mind of form can understand. One of the most limiting things out there is to understand, right? And in that, to free yourself. Notice your breath. Notice what you're noticing. Notice what you're hearing or not. Smile from within and emanate that smile out. Call forward the depth of all that you are as I am. And breathing in Ave, exhaling Sa, lifting up one hand and really smiling at the gift of transparency, lifting up the other and appreciating the blessing of authenticity, bringing them together in the prayer position, becoming the radiant beacon of telepathy as the one that is ready to expand, to emerge, and to carry presence in this extraordinary moment of birth. I love you with all my heart. I am Master Lady Kira Raa, and I invite you to join me on every journey that we are ready to take together this year in our calendar presence of 2025, Transformation Tuesdays, a moment to expand more. Please visit masterladykiraraa.com and learn more. Thank you for joining me on Expanding Consciousness. Learn more about the Yoga of Self-Ascension at ShriAnKira.com and make sure you're subscribed to YouTube official Shri and Kira. Remember, you are the gift. I love you and look forward to being with you again. Namaste.